Welcome to the PowerPlayChess channel and our latest live broadcast. Hopefully you can all hear us and see us now. So my guest this evening is International Master Richard Palliser, and we're here to discuss his latest book, Unlock Your Chess Creativity. If you haven't met Richard playing over the board or bumped into him at a chess tournament, then there's a very good chance that the chess book or magazine that you're reading was either written by him or edited by him or proofread by him or commissioned by him, as Richard works for many different publishing houses, including Quality Chess, New Chess, Forward Chess, Popular Chess, Chess Magazine, New Chess Magazine. I probably missed some out. But anyway, we're here to discuss his latest book, Unlock Your Chess Creativity. So once again, Richard, welcome. And
thank you.
How are you doing? You're okay?
Very good. And yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you. So I like to let everyone know our location. So I'm here in my home in London, upstairs in the office, in the studio. So whereabouts are you?
I'm borrowing a dining room table, as you do, in Sherborne, which is a sort of a small town in the southwest of England.
There we go. And we're here to discuss English chess. We're both in England, that's good. And we're here to discuss English chess as well. So tell us a little bit about your book, Unlock Your Chess Creativity. What's it all about?
So, I mean, in some ways, the book is exactly as it says on the cover and on the title. It's a book designed to make readers ideally a bit more creative at the board. Think outside the box a bit more. Feel they can play with a bit more freedom when they're at the board and maybe consider more sacrifices or even some crazy ideas. And that's part of the book. And I'd say the other half of the book is it's kind of the best of English chess from maybe the mid-70s, the era of Tony Miles, through to the early 2000s.
So you look at 6 English players and you analyse their styles. And, well, I think, clearly the title says it all. I think English players have a reputation for being very, very creative. So do you want to just list the 6 players?
Okay, so the book starts with Tony Miles, who probably viewers will know, maybe younger viewers will know, for playing 1a6 against Karpov and going on to win. A game that does feature in the book, unsurprisingly, perhaps. Yep. Then we've also got John Nunn. We've got John Spielman, 2 more very creative players. Then we've got Nigel Short and Mickey Adams, maybe England's 2 best ever players. And then we finished with Matthew Sadler, who also very kindly wrote the foreword and even included the loss he had against John Nunn, which I thought was beyond the call of duty, but very kind of him.
Yeah, I thought Matthew's foreword was very, very interesting because he gives a personal take on each of the players in the light of his experiences on the chessboard. So I thought that was a very valuable little foreword, actually. I thought it complemented your more objective approach. He had a very subjective view.
Indeed.
So, yeah, I thought that was very interesting. So let's come back to creativity and English chess players. Because, I think English players are known for being, let's say, slightly maverick. So why do you think this is? Having looked at all these players, what's your opinion on that? Why are English players, a little, somehow go off at tangents, playing unorthodox chess?
Well, I think it was the case even before the sort of 70s. But I think certainly the people who became very good sort of quite quickly, like Tony Miles, for example, they didn't really have, at least in the UK, a sort of a very strong chess tradition in terms of classical styles to build on. There were obviously some very famous players like Alexander or whatever. But I think there wasn't really a sort of a defined British chess school, English chess school, whatever you want to call it. Whereas maybe in other countries there were sort of more role models to look up to in the style sense. I think also we've got to remember that most of these players became very good by playing a lot of weekend tournaments. I think when you're playing a lot of weekend tournaments, maybe you're playing people who are in ELO ratings, sort of 200, 300, 400 points weaker. So you learn how to take risks, you learn how to experiment in the opening, and that probably feeds through to how you play the whole game.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That one had to go for sort of tricky systems when you played these weekend tournaments. For those watching that don't know, these English weekend tournaments were famous, or are famous, particularly in the 1970s. So they were really tough. Basically, you played 5 or even 6 classical games over a weekend, usually 1 on Friday night, 3 on Saturday, 2 on the Sunday, and they were absolutely exhausting. But I mean, as a kid, that's how I grew up playing chess, and you just got used to it. I mean, Richard, was that your experience as well, basically growing up on the England or English weekend circuit?
Yeah, definitely. I played a lot of weekends when I was young and gained a lot from it. Although I think they weren't as large as the ones that you would have played in, or quite as strong.
I don't know, but I mean, I think it's more the format that, as you described, which is lends itself to a particular style, or you had to play in a particular style to be successful. So there's the classic Grand Prix attack, which is named after the Grand Prix of these weekend tournaments, and the Grand Prix attack is that typical opening, which frowned upon by, let's say, the more formal Soviet school, but highly successful, and of course even successful at the candidates level when Nigel Short defeated Gelfand. Well, yes, we've had, and this one exactly. How could I forget the recent example? And that's the perfect actually example of someone just going slightly off the beaten track, playing a Grand Prix to defeat Geary, who is a more classical, more formal player, and that was a perfect example of playing the man, not the board. So I think we should start off by looking at a particular game. So you've picked out a few games. So you've got this game between Alexander Beliavsky and John Nunn. Why did you pick this one?
I mean, it's long been since I was a child. It's been one of my favourite games. I mean, to me, it's a classic attacking game. It's a classic King's Indian game. It's very creative. It's extremely complex on one level, but also the sacrifices are all very logical. And essentially, White's king gets stranded in the centre, and Black just tries to mate it, which is maybe a bit crude, but it's actually very beautiful.
There we go. We've got some praise for you already on the chat. Chris Grove said Richard's 1d4 is a gem. There you are.
My first book from a long time ago.
Yeah, there we are. So Chris Grove's likes that. We've got JP64. Hey Daniel, hey Richard. It's later here in India. I'll probably have to catch most of this later, but really love your work, Richard. Happy to see you live. There you go.
Thank you.
That's good news. We've got Agustin Gianastasio in Brazil. Hi, Agustin. We've got Gisli. Hi, Gisli, who's in Iceland. And well, there are many. If anyone can beat India or Brazil for distance, let me know. If you're out there, let me know you're out there. This is great stuff. Okay, well let's crack on with this game, because this game Beliavsky Nunn is absolutely superb. And John, I always think of John as being a very classical attacking player. But when you see this particular game, it's very original actually, and it's a brilliant attacking game. We've got F. Burton 8. Greetings from Scotland. That is a long way. Okay, so knight d7. So that's the first slightly tricky move.
Yeah, and I guess these days everybody in this dog plays c5 or maybe a6, but knight bd7 is still probably a tricky sideline.
Yep. Okay, so it went like this, and d5, and so this was played in Vacances in 1985, and we have to remember in those days there were no computers to help with preparation, and John was or is a fearsome theoretician. He came up with some absolutely brilliant ideas, and this is one of his. H3
I mean,
in many ways, typical Beliavsky. He's a very ambitious player. Sorry, Richard, go on.
I mean, H3 is an easy move to criticise with hindsight, but obviously, if White can play H3 and F4, and then Black's idea looks ridiculous, so it has to be extremely critical.
Oh, we've got, yeah, absolutely. But typical Beliavsky, he's a very, very ambitious player. Owen Pritchard is still watching from New Zealand. There we go. I think Owen wins first prize for the distance.
Must be quite early, though.
Sorry?
Quite early, though?
Yes, it must be. Or quite late. No, quite early. That's right. It's the other way around. I'm getting confused, yeah. Question for you from Omkar Chakradeo. Which is your favourite book that you've written?
That's a very hard question.
It's this one. Richard, it's this one. Come on.
Obviously, it's the latest book. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, it was definitely the book I enjoyed writing the most. Because it has so many great games in it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I've really enjoyed flicking through it. It's great. And, yeah, as with... I mean, you can see there's very... I don't know if people say that. Very nice, clean layout. And I should say just a little bit more. Let's explain the format. So you go through games of these players and look at their style. And then you've selected some very nice questions for the reader to answer as well. So it's the reader is tested, which I really like as well. So there we go.
Yeah, and some of them are a bit wacky, like Miles Riles, for example. It's one of the sections.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed reading all the sections, but I particularly enjoyed the section on Tony Miles because, you know, when I was growing up, he was just a hero for me, and a real role model in the way that he became a professional on the circuit and played in the Bundesliga and his whole lifestyle. So yeah, his chess was extraordinary. So Knight H5 was played, and then Bishop F2. Right, let's hand it over to our viewers because I think we need to get them thinking. By the way, we've got JP64 who has a question. Love John Nunn's games and read a bit of his big books too. Wonder what you and Richard think about Magnus's quote that he was too intelligent to be a world champion. He was a great academic, of course. Yeah, he was. Still is. Of course, he was a mathematician at Oxford, and well, even now he has a great interest in astronomy. Yeah, what do you think of that quote, Richard? Too intelligent to be world champion.
He is very intelligent. I mean, that's certainly true. I don't know if he's too intelligent to be world champion. I mean, I guess that he spent what? I mean, he was obviously a student of 15 at Oxford, which was that a record at the time, or very close to being a record?
Yeah.
And then he obviously did his 3 years as an undergraduate. Then he did a PhD. Then he taught for 3 years as a lecturer there. Is that right? 3 or 4 years?
So. Yeah, not for very long. Yeah.
Not for very long, but maybe long enough that if he was going to become world champion or try to become extremely good, those formative years maybe were used on mathematics.
Yeah. Also think it, as you mentioned earlier, there isn't really that kind of chess culture in England that we can draw on. I mean, when you say there isn't a chess tradition, I would kind of slightly I would qualify that because I think there is a bit of a chess tradition in England.
Oh, definitely.
But it's a chess tradition that is basically, you know, that amateur spirit that you go out and do your best and you throw your pieces forward, and you know, if you win, well done. If you lose, well done as well. But you know, you threw your pieces forward. That's kind of the English philosophy. But there isn't a kind of culture as in, you know, you can compare with the Soviet Union. So, you know, we didn't have established chess coaches. And if we'd had that, and players like John or I would say any of the players in the book, if we'd had that, I think it would have made a massive difference. You know, if John Nunn had grown up in the Soviet Union, well, that would be you wouldn't have a John Nunn for a start, but
Yep.
I think it would make a big difference. Okay, it's black to play. we've got Moritz als Leben suggests f5. Omkar f5. Yeah, so basically it's f5. Okay, and I'm going to continue it a little bit. Right. If you
Sorry,
know
can I
the
just
game.
pause you for 1 second then? Can we just go back to the position after f5?
Yeah, go on.
It's very strange, but in some ways you might say this is a very good Clarendon court for black, if we're having a discussion about English chess and English openings.
That's true. Yeah. So the Clarendon court variation was, I don't know about invented, but certainly popularised by Jonathan Levitt. Yes, which involved the fianchetto and an early f5, basically, and an early taking on c3. Yeah, there are similarities, of course. Yeah, yes, but I think that's a good point. Another, original opening. So okay, let's crack on. So how do you recapture here? I know everyone's just guessing, but I mean, do you know how much of this was actually prepared by John?
I think, from memory, I think up to about this position was, but not much more.
Right, yeah. That's a slight difference with today. That's the extraordinary thing. Okay, so, I mean, for me, I find this next move pretty extraordinary because you have to calculate so deeply afterwards in order to justify this move. It feels to me like this move should be correct, and maybe you want to play f4 or something like that. And that's possible. But incredibly, this was the move that was played. It feels to me like black's pieces are going to be beaten back by white's pawns, but it didn't quite happen like that. So the game went g4. Now rook takes f3, which is just extraordinary. Aha, JP64 says, having watched PowerPlayChess and Ginger GM since around 2012, and having met the great Mickey Adams in Goa, I'm a fan of the English chess scene. I'm buying this book. Good decision, JP64. That's the book we're talking about. Good. Yeah, rook takes f3. Richard, talk me through the 3,000 variations that lead from rook takes f3.
I think the most basic thing is obviously the rook is currently taboo. White can never really take it because then the king and queen get forked.
Yeah.
Which is very handy. And okay, the knight on h5 is hanging, but I mean, we could probably play the next move because black's probably going to play the same move anyhow. And now black plays a very nice sliding move.
Yeah. I think to be able to foresee this next move, I mean, the whole sequence is extraordinary. I think this is absolutely brilliant. And I think it's sort of very understandable that Beliavsky thought, well, I can probably get away with this. I mean, he does go for it. Beliavsky just doesn't back down, really. So black to play here, folks.
I'm not sure I can improve my hint that it's a very nice sliding move.
There we go. I think your hint has been taken. Omkar suggests queen f8. Oh, Richard. Hi, Richard in Chiswick, who was also at the Bees match on Saturday. Richard asks, in light of computer analysis and in particular the influence of AlphaZero, etc., has the definition of what play is creative changed? So creativity, has that changed? Actually, that's an interesting one. What would you say to that?
To some extent, maybe, but on the other hand, it's very hard. I mean, I don't think it has changed because maybe you can say that a very creative player their play may not be sort of, it won't get a 98, 99% accuracy score. If we're talking about sometimes, for example, sometimes Eric Asey, for example, his games are extremely accurate and they're extremely impressive. Other times it feels to me he's more like a Fruja. He can sort of just really turn on the creativity. And maybe those games' accuracy isn't so high, but he's still setting so many practical problems that I think there's still plenty of scope to be creative and do your own thing.
Yeah, I always feel with Eric Icey, he's bluffing it a lot.
Maybe.
For me, he's a very human player, and that he tries stuff out that he knows is a bit on the dodgy side, but it's just so complex that he wants to test his opponent. So I think he's a really good example, actually, of someone who's still really, really creative, but also creative with a computer. Yep. He's finding lines that are very difficult for a human to play, basically. So Queen F8, yeah, this is an absolutely brilliant move. So Knight E4,
which
played.
Probably wasn't a great move, but it's kind of understandable why White would play it. I think otherwise Black's just going to go Bishop H6 and Bishop F5.
We won't look too much at the defence. we'll just career on, I think. So Bishop H6, Queen here. And now John, well, according to the machines, he makes a mistake here. Interesting. Milan Braca. Milan is in Belgium. He says, I'd say creative play tends to make your opponent play less accurately. Yeah, I suppose if you're playing, the definition of creativity is something new, and if you're playing something new and fresh, then that can trip up your opponent. So yes. And Tim Wall, hi Tim, says maybe Eric Icey is like a post-Tal, going into the deep dark forest and claiming that 2 + 2 = 6. Okay. Very nice. So John actually played Queen F4 here, which, it's such a complex position that Beliavsky went wrong very quickly. The game went like this. Okay, let's hand it over again. Let's see if you can guess the next one. Rooksack E3, says Greg Gilbert. Rook E3, that's a really interesting move. Actually, Rook E3. Whew.
A lot of threats.
Excuse me?
Lots of threats.
Lots of threats, yeah. It looks pretty tasty. If this is taken, then I suppose just recapture and carry on. Rook E3 I like. Well done. And Bella Glavis also suggested Rook E3. But Milan suggests Rook F2. JP64 suggests Rook takes F2. So we go with this. This is the game continuation. I'll just keep going for a little bit. We've got about 4 more games to go after this one. So I'll zip through. So at the moment, if we take stock, what's the score?
It's a whole rook currently.
It's a whole rook, yeah. Okay, so Knight D3 played. Right, next move for Black. We've given too many moves away. Black's play. Were you inspired to play the King's Indian after seeing games like this, Richard?
I had to go up Knight BD7 at some point, but yes, I was inspired to play it.
Yeah. Okay. Bishop f5.
Excellent.
Oh, it's Carl. Carl's there. Excellent. Oh, he's Schach Knight. Yeah, there we go. Hi, Carl. Nice to see you. So Carl asks, was there a player you enjoyed writing most about in the book?
Probably Tony Miles, I guess.
Yeah?
Partly because he's the first person in the book. Because I mean, he is actually the oldest, slightly just the oldest, but also
Yeah.
I'd say he's probably the most creative player in the book. I mean, everyone in the book is extremely strong and very impressive and does their own creativity, but he's probably the ultimate creative player.
Yeah. I remember him talking about this, and he was saying that he'd read a book by Sir George Thomas about badminton. And, I mean, Sir George, for those who don't know, Sir George Thomas, who was British champion in the 1920s. I can't remember exact dates he was British champion. Even in the 1930s. Oh, I might have got that wrong. So he played in the English team, or the British team, at that time. And he was also a champion badminton player. And he also played tennis at Wimbledon, actually. But yes, possibly a better badminton player than a chess player, which is quite extraordinary, really. But he wrote this book on badminton.
Yeah, he was so strong at chess.
Yeah, but probably better at badminton, incredibly. But Tony had read this book that Sir George Thomas had written about badminton, and he said that basically try and do something unexpected when you're playing. This was sort of his motto, or I don't know how you want to say it. His big advice. That's the way you're going to beat players. And Tony said that's how I like to play chess, basically. Do something unexpected, and I think that fits. I mean, from what I saw of Tony, and I played against him a few times, and that was very much the case. Tony always tried to find an opening where you just felt a bit uncomfortable, or some route, some path that made you think, "Oh, I don't really want to go down that route," but you knew you had to, but you weren't that thrilled about it somehow.
Sorry, a quick interlude. Have you heard that there's going to be a new book out on Sir George Thomas in the next year or two?
I hadn't. No, excellent.
John Manley, the editor of Kingpin,
really?
is writing it.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds really good. Excellent. No, I hadn't heard that.
He's even been to the National Badminton Centre many times, he tells me.
Really? Fantastic.
Yeah, I think they've got a very good archive.
Oh, that's really interesting. Oh, we'll get the... I look forward to that. I love this move, knight d2. It's just such a mad position for the knight. I mean, on the PowerPlayChess channel, we're used to octopus knights, but being on perhaps on e3 or d3. Whoops, I'm misfiring all over the place. But d2 is very unusual. You seen one of those? Is there another game where you can think of a knight on d2?
Not that springs to mind.
No. Okay, so the game went like this. Bishop g2. Knight takes.
Which I think is Black's only backwards move in the whole game.
Yeah. But going backwards to leap forward as well.
Exactly.
So it's interesting that Black is still a whole rook down, but these don't really come into the game ever. And bishop f3. Okay, well, let's just go to the end. See, I love this. See, this appeals to me. That Black's entire army gets into the fight. And Beliavsky resigned. Yes, I mean, there are a million threats here. I suppose the knight is going to come back Or maybe pin. I don't know. There's lots of stuff going on here. I might have played on one more move. Anyway, white resigned here. What about that move? Come on, let's test ourselves. How are we going to beat that one? We're probably going to mess up this position, aren't we?
Yeah, I guess it'll be nice to have something better than the mundane 93 check.
93. I was thinking maybe knight d4.
Yep.
And attack that one.
And threaten bishop c2 maybe.
Yeah, I think we're getting closer. Yeah. I'd say that's good enough. Yeah. Let me see. Hoppers162 says, when I think of creativity, I think of gumption and improving my ability to come up with original moves and ideas. Gumption. There we go.
Very Rowson.
Gumption. Yeah. Okay, Wood and F. Burton 8 says, would Miles' A6 against Karpov count as an example of that? Of creativity? Well, it was a brilliant game. I mean, it's classic Tony, isn't it? As you wrote in the book, Richard, Tony was provocative, highly provocative. I mean, that was kind of his personality as well. He liked to poke.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was him. Tony was quite prickly, but yeah, I liked Tony a lot actually. Even if he made you feel rather uncomfortable sometimes, both on and off the chessboard. So, where do you want to go next, Richard? By the way, for those arriving late, we're discussing Richard's latest book, Unlock Your Chess Creativity, which is published by Popular Chess, but you can find it on Forward Chess and New in Chess, and we've put the link up. There we are on the chat if you want to check that one out. So, Richard, where do you want to go next?
In terms of games?
In terms of games, yeah. Who would you like to discuss next?
That's a good question. We should maybe look at the Mickey extract.
Okay.
It both is classic Mickey and also isn't classic Mickey at the same time.
Okay, so this is... Oh, let's flip this round. So yeah, how would you describe Michael Adams' style?
Apart from very strong?
Apart from very strong. Very good.
Well, I guess, obviously, we often refer to him as the spider due to his sort of ability to essentially stop his opponents being able to do anything. And certainly, when I've played him, I've found that you can easily run other moves quite quickly, or good moves, that is. So in some ways, he is quite restrictive, but at the same time, he's just an extremely strong classical player.
For me, talking about originality, for me, he's a very original English player because hardly anyone in England plays like him.
Exactly.
And he came out sort of fully formed. As a kid, he was playing like this, sort of creeping forward and, picking off squares, finding nice squares for his pieces, restricting his opponent in a very Karpovian way. And that is very unusual in England. And yeah, he didn't have some kind of chess coach that brought him up from, very young years. So it was all sort of self-discovery, as with actually all these English players, which I think is very interesting. So we're jumping in to the middle of a game that Michael Adams played against Alexander Morozevich, Sarajevo 2000. So, white to play. What did Michael Adams play next?
In some ways, not a very Mickey move, but in other ways, just a very strong move.
Yeah.
whilst we can connect the word gumption with Jonathan Rowson and his books, we might also say that here Mickey probably talked to his pieces on the king's side.
Okay, let's see what people make of it. Orc 1046 says, to Mickey seems like a Capablanca type of player. I think Mickey plays more attacking chess than someone like Capablanca or Karpov, actually. I mean, there's talk about that he's Karpovian. Yeah, of course, that kind of manoeuvring that we think of as Karpovian. But actually, in this game, we're going to see a superb kingside attack. And actually, I think of Mickey as playing some beautiful kingside attacks, for example, on the white side of Sicilian. I mean, there's quite a few of those, actually.
Yeah, there's one in the book against Topalov.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I'd say about Mickey is he's also extremely hardworking. It's maybe not obvious, but both in terms of work at home and preparation and also the board, he works extremely hard.
In terms of his preparation, that's interesting. Yes. I don't think of that particularly.
These days, certainly. Maybe not when he's very young, but certainly more recently.
Okay, that's interesting. Because, for me, Mickey has always played those kind of... I was going to say compromise openings. Openings that don't... he doesn't try to blow you off the board when you're playing... if he's playing with white. He plays like an open Sicilian, but perhaps with bishop e2. He's
Sure.
not the kind of classic, thumping English attack kind of player.
Well, I guess when he was young, though, he was playing the Marshal as black all the time in the Lopez.
Well, that's true. Although, how often did he get the Marshal? That's the thing.
Back then, though, quite a bit.
Well, maybe. Yeah, true. Yeah. No, I mean, as I said, I don't... he's not afraid to attack, but it comes from, it's quite steady. We got knight f6 check suggested by Richard. Apparently this one doesn't work, according to your analysis.
Yeah, I think we can just take that and then drop the bishop back.
Yeah.
And everything is defended.
Yeah, but tricky. But instead of knight f6, well, as several have pointed out, in fact, g4. Yeah, just incredibly direct. So Black actually played rook a7, Morozevich played rook a7, but if rook takes, then white simply breaks open the king side. I suppose this is all about time, isn't it? That black's pieces are just too far away. They just don't connect. So that...
Yeah, especially the rook on a5, especially.
And basically white is breaking in. Yeah. It's too much. Okay, so let's see the game. So rook a7. And now you write that queen g3 would have been very strong, but in fact Mickey played king h1, which I like a lot.
Also a strong move.
Yeah, very. And rook g1. Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic how in the space of just a handful of moves, he's managed to concentrate all his pieces on the king side. It's brilliant. Okay, we'll hand this one over to our viewers. Okay, so white to play. What did Mickey do next? I have to say, looking at this position, I have a funny feeling there's going to be more than one way to win this one. So, white to play. What are you going to do, folks? It's gone very quiet out there.
all the pieces have been invited to the party, and all the pieces are there, so we don't need
They
to
are.
bring any more in.
Yeah. But there must be more than one way to win this.
I would
Yeah.
assume, yeah, there is.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, that's interesting. Omkar says knight e4 looks good. Well, I wasn't thinking of that one, but hey, I quite like it. I suspect that's very good, actually. Okay, so if we do this, and then I suppose this is your idea, Omkar. And then in. Oh, we can mate straight away, can't we? We can play rook g8. That'll do. Yeah. Okay. Knight e4 looks good.
Nice.
I was thinking knight f6. That must be good as well. But in fact, Mickey played knight takes g7. Yeah, we've got a few that wanted knight g7. And yes, if king takes, this didn't happen, but that's pretty clear. And the game went like this: queen c3, and knight takes bishop. Okay, white was a piece up with more to come, basically. Yeah, that's fantastic. So yeah, to arrive at this position from this position is pretty extraordinary. I mean, obviously black had to clear this one up. But yeah, Mickey just judged that he had time to do this. But it is extraordinary that black just can't defend here. So it's very well judged. Okay, Richard, where do you want to go next? That was nice.
Which game should we jump to next? Maybe look at Matthew's game at the end.
Okay, now I've got the whole thing here because I thought it might be nice to. Oh no, we'll just have an extract because. So yeah, this arose from a French defence. So how would you describe Matthew's style?
Ooh, to me, he's a cross between a very strong classical player and an extremely creative player. He's a very interesting sort of hybrid.
Yeah, I always feel that Matthew's very individual. He's a brilliant calculator. He works incredibly hard at the board. Well, he's no longer an active player. I mean, I think occasionally, but when he was playing actively, then he strained every sinew at the board, and yeah, just a brilliant calculator. And I mean, I always found him again original in terms of English chess because he wasn't that sort of classic e4 player that like in the mould of John Nunn or Mickey Adams or Murray Chandler. We haven't mentioned Murray actually, Murray Chandler. And Nigel Short, of course, are basically e4 players and sort of classical attacking players. But Matthew always went his own way in openings. So, he's essentially a d4 player. And, I mean, to me, that was quite original. That, he was an independent thinker, basically. We've got one suggestion here. We've got one correct suggestion from Omkar. Tim Wall says Matthew seems to work harder on chess even now than many pros.
Fair point. Definitely true. It feels.
That's very true. Yeah, of course he's very interested in, of course, computer chess, artificial intelligence, and wrote Game Changer. But yeah, he likes to look at computer chess and see what new developments that there are in the computer chess world. So let me see. Richard McDougall suggests queen. I assume queen b5. Yeah, that's sort of heading out there somewhere. I don't know. Wasn't that one? Omkar suggests rook a4. Yeah, well done. Rook a4 was played. So Richard,
Very nice move.
talk to me about that move.
It's a nice, obviously, it's a very nice rook lift. Rook g4 is now a big threat. We don't have to rely on some sort of bishop f8 thing, which could get very messy to win the piece. And as we'll see in the game, there can also come some other squares apart from just g4.
Yeah. You also mentioned that castle's queenside is an interesting move here, which I rather.
Which looks ridiculous, but actually gets the king out of danger.
Or I don't know. There's only one pawn there. It could be hopping back into danger. I'm not sure. It's hard to say. Anyway, we'll go with rook e4. Rook a4. Excuse me. Then h3 played. This next move. This really surprised me. I have to say I hadn't seen this game until I looked at it in the book. And this move, I kind of went, what? Really? What's that about? This one really surprised me. Hoppers162 says, Rook a4, love the geometry. Okay, let's throw this one out there.
I mean, I guess as you said, Matthew's an extremely good calculator. When he played his next move, he'd already calculated probably to a forced win, or at least close to.
Yeah, for me, it's just just a very unusual move, actually. And I didn't quite get what it was about.
But I mean, I think here, if you imagine that, Black might like to go, bishop f8 would be the obvious move, and then White plays rook takes f6.
Okay,
and then queen takes e5, check comes in.
Yes, let's look at that. That, of course, is very important because Black could win a piece. I'm not quite sure how, but this is, tricky. Yeah, with possible queen b8s happening, and okay, so this is the issue basically. Omkar suggests rook f4 just to be creative and annoying. Yes.
I think rook f4 is a good move.
Yeah, you mentioned rook f4. Yeah, so basically rook f4 looking to simply win a piece, actually. Yeah. So that's possible. Of course, White could give up a piece. I mean, what's the score? Oh, it's only 2 pawns. Yeah, not enough. Not enough. Okay. So rook f4 is very interesting. It's interesting. No one has come up with this move yet. I'm going to hang on and see if anyone can guess this next move.
Yeah, I think the thing that impressed me, what I saw part of this game live at the 4NCL. The thing that impressed me was not just the next move, but the follow-up as well.
Yeah. It's gone very quiet. No one has come up with this one yet.
It's another sliding move.
Oh, Richard, you just keep giving the game away.
Sorry.
I think this is a very good test. I think it's really interesting. Greg Gilbert suggests f5 to prepare rook h4. Well, hang on. That one is a problem.
Yep.
Afraid it will all collapse after that. Omkar said it's not a king march to a8. It's not a king march to a8, but now you mention it, we could get going. Yeah, we could slide over there, but no, it's not that one. Rook e4, yeah, I'm afraid the hint was too strong. Rook e4 was played. I mean, I suppose one thing is that now that e5 is protected, then moves like this do come into consideration.
Or anyway, f5 as well.
Or indeed f5, yeah. So the game went a4. I mean, to be honest, I'm not quite sure why these ones weren't played. There's going to be some very good reason. I mean, maybe these are good as well. I don't know. Bishop F8. Did you analyse these at all, Richard, or were you convinced enough by the game continuation?
I think the game continuation is just very strong.
Okay, and it went D4, so that one is threatened. Pawn takes pawn.
So black can now win the piece in return for some sort of mess.
This. Yeah. But it's possible. Yeah, black could do that. But Matthew actually just wanted to keep the initiative. So queen d5.
Yeah, I think now white is just out of good moves because knight d2 you can take on d4.
So he's basically just got control in the middle. And it could be this one. It could simply be running after that bishop. But yeah, a5. I'll zip to the end of the game because we're running out of time. And yeah, he's... Okay, so white can get a piece back, but once black starts attacking that one, then it's the end of the story. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that
centralization won the day.
Yeah, centralization. That's true. Yeah, rook a4 and rook e4. But yeah, that one struck me because I simply wouldn't have anticipated that one at all. So I thought that was very interesting. Yeah. For those arriving late, we're discussing Richard's latest book, Unlock Your Chess Creativity. We go. Excuse me. And I've pinned the link so you can have a look at the book. You can get it from New in Chess, Forward Chess, Quality Chess.
Chess and Bridge.
Chess and Bridge, indeed, in the UK. So Carl asks, Richard, how did you decide upon that cover for the book? Carl, that sounds like a criticism to me.
I'm not a design expert. It was designed by a very good creative cover person, so I'm not a cover expert myself, but
I rather like Carl. Come on.
I like it.
Carl, you've got to love that. Come on.
It's a very creative cover.
It is. And also, it could be, I know Carl loves his rock music. Carl, it could be like a rock album, couldn't it? Come on. We love that. Yeah. So that's all good, basically. Good stuff. Listen, we need to finish fairly soon, but let's just finish with one more. We haven't got time. Okay. Maybe just to finish this one. It's interesting. We've picked all games where black is winning. Oh no, we had Mickey's game. Sorry.
Black is definitely not winning in this game. I mean, he's not winning in this position. He's in trouble.
Yeah. Not untypical for Tony.
Because if we go queen c7, white just takes on e5 with the pawn, and then he has a huge clamp.
Sorry, just coming back to Carl. Carl says not a criticism, honestly. Good. I think it's a nice cover. So yes, where were we? Sorry, I lost the thread.
Yes, I think black appears to be in trouble because if we go queen c7 or queen d8, white just plays pawn takes e5 and has a huge clamp. I mean, this feels sort of positionally lost.
Yeah.
It's just horrible.
Yeah, okay. But he played queen b4.
Which is provocative.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel like the queen has improved its position. Okay, so we should throw this one out. Black to play. What did Tony do next?
My only clue is it's not a sliding move.
It's not a slide. Well, it's a bit of a slidey move.
All moves are sliding moves to some extent.
Well, that's true. Yeah. It's a crashy move. Gone very quiet. What's the move, folks? Yep, Tim, well done. Rook takes f3. Boom.
Excellent. The queen can't take because the rook on e1.
Ah, yes, that's a good point and well made. So that's good news. And if pawn takes, then yeah, that looks good fun for black. Okay, so Sachs played bishop a3. And then what happened next? Black to play, folks.
There aren't many squares.
This is true.
There's probably only one very strong move.
Omkar suggests queen c4. Well done. Yeah, queen. If
Excellent.
Queen here, then well, this is Richard's analysis, and yeah, that's a very strong knight. But queen takes c4. I mean, this is the kind of position that Tony kind of revelled in. You know, unusual material balance. You know, Sachs was probably thinking that he was going to win this one, but suddenly it's just a big mess. Yeah. He was basically in his element. And, well, this is actually quite a long game, but I'm going to fast forward very, very quickly.
The pieces gradually take over.
Yeah. And of course, Tony was a brilliant endgame player. You know, when it counted, you know, when he had to calculate, then he did that very, very, very well, which you have to do in endgames. And that was the final position. Yeah, good stuff. Well, nice to finish with the game for Tony. Actually, we haven't mentioned John Spielman.
Also an extremely creative player.
Well, yeah, I mean, Matthew, in the forward, Matthew says he's probably the player that he learnt most from. And I have to say, although Tony was, for me, you know, a real hero, in a kind of role model, for me, again, I probably learnt the most from John Spielman and the way he played. His understanding of pawn structures, but also how to distract your opponent. I don't mean in terms of, you know, at the board going, but on the chessboard finding, you know, some way to unbalance the position. But anyway, that's a subject for another time. Yeah, Richard, anything else you'd like to mention about the book before we go on, before we close?
I think I mean, it's a shame we couldn't discuss John more, but yeah, all six players we could easily spend hours discussing. So
yeah, definitely. What I should mention that, you know, that Richard has gone through, you know, games by these players, but also, you know, there are sections in each chapter where there are positions for you to solve, so you can test your creativity yourself and hopefully unlock your chess creativity. So yeah, it's very very enjoyable. Omkar is saying, so basically you're saying the new generation isn't creative. Garwain and David Howell, nice roast. I'm not sure that's not what Richard is saying at all.
no.
But I think, you know, in general, there's there's a kind of maverick or an unorthodox streak with English chess players. There's no doubt about it. That's my impression anyway. But yeah, we haven't talked about Nigel either, who again basically taught himself. Listen, we better leave it there. Richard, thanks very much for coming on the broadcast, and thanks everyone for joining in. It's really really nice to see some familiar faces or some old friends there as well. So thanks everyone for tuning in. And well, we haven't even talked about the candidates actually. Are you surprised by Sindarov's results, Richard?
I mean, I think like you, I saw him as a dark horse and probably maybe not the favourite, who was almost certainly Caruana, but one of the sort of 3 or 4 people who could win it in advance. Yeah. And I guess after he survived round 1 against Esipenko, he's just played brilliantly since then. Things have gone his way, but he's also played extremely well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit disappointed that Caruana hasn't made a better showing.
Yeah.
After, I mean, of course, you could lose games, that's fine, but he seemed to just kind of have the wind knocked out of him after he lost to Nakamura, which was, that's a shame. It should have just been, okay, you lost one game, boom, we carry on. But it's really hit him hard, which is such pity. Then it could have been a much more interesting fight, but I've still really enjoyed it anyway.
That's been great.
There we go. Yeah, it's been great. Oh, we got Tim. Tim says, "Can you guys do a weekly show? You should." There we go. Richard, write another one.
Okay,
come
thank
back.
you.
All right, listen. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and there'll be more videos coming soon on the channel. And we got the candidates. Last 2 rounds of the candidates coming up soon. So, all right, see you folks. Bye.
Thank you.